FC studio. I'm Dan Thomas, joined by Ali Moreno, Steve McManaman. We welcome Brian McBride to the show for the first time this World Cup. Where have you been, Brian?
I've been making all the correct picks.
Well, this is the lineup then for the knockout stages. Today, of course, a rest day, but looking ahead to it, it should be a fascinating round of 16, and it starts with a bang, doesn't it? Uruguay against Portugal, the late game on Saturday, but it all starts with France against Argentina. The front page of L'Equipe sums it up quite nicely. In Spanish, they go with no pasará. In French, meanwhile, at the bottom, they translate it into il ne passera pas. Oh yes, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello.
Which I believe means he won't pass.
Yeah, he won't go through.
Thou shalt not pass.
No, and I'm sure that's the approach with Lionel Messi, and I'm sure that we'll see a lot of N'Golo Kante hovering around Lionel Messi as well. I think for Argentina is how do you maximize Lionel Messi, and that's a challenge for Jorge Sampaoli and for that squad. He's going to help you when he's in an advanced position.
Right.
If he's getting the balls from center backs and trying to play make and then passing the ball to himself and cross it to himself so that he can finish, that is not going to work. So Lionel Messi has to find a way to get himself between the lines in the attacking half and forcing France to defend not only Lionel Messi, but the other guys on the outside.
Let's take a look, shall we? As you mentioned it, the rumoured lineup. And there are suggestions. Of course, we saw Higuain start, didn't we, in that game against Nigeria, that Messi would take his place, giving him that kind of false front nine role. Do you like that, Mac? Or is that a good place to play in?
Yeah, I don't mind him playing there, as long as I agree with Ali, as long as he doesn't drop too deep. He's better further forward. I know sometimes he might get isolated or he might be starved of the ball at times, but he has to play it in a more advanced position. If he's got people like Di Maria and Pavon running past him to create that little bit of space, fine, all fine. But don't drop too deep. Don't drop behind your centre midfielders. I get the fact that he wants to do too much in his team because he's by far the best player, but he just needs to be a little bit more patient.
Would you have that 11, Ryan? Would you put him up top on his own?
You know, with the way this Argentinian team has been playing, I think you got to try something different. The fact you also have Banega, who actually sometimes gets in the same space that Messi does, but Banega's ability to find a pass and create things is exceptional. So I can see why they might try and do something like that. Still question marks for me in the way they defend. And you've got two center backs that will charge into the midfield and follow everything in. And that just sets up some big problems for me. If you think about Griezmann running into that space and Mbappe running in behind,
I'm the
it's going to be a tough.
And I don't think they're quick enough. Banega, watching him this year, I don't think he's quick enough or mobile enough to counteract the French forward line or the French midfielders. They have to do something different to Argentina, in my opinion, to beat this France team. I know France haven't been as impressive, but they've got players who we know very well and who can be impressive on their day. And I just think that Argentina have to come up with a different plan of what they've shown already.
Is there not an argument to say, right, you've got Higuain, fantastic striker, Kun Aguero, of course, superb. Can you not put them up top together, put Messi in the hole, a couple of holding midfielders, bish, bash, bosh, it all seems to work out quite nicely.
The holding midfielders?
Can you not play to your strengths?
Yeah, you can.
And your strengths are certainly those players.
And this is what would concern me about this false nine, as with any false nine formation. False nine, by definition, means that you do not have a number 9. Sure. And so, therefore, if Lionel Messi gets that freedom to go wherever he wants to go, once he gets himself in a wider position or he drops deeper, then who's running into the box? Who is then the presence if a ball is played to? If Lionel Messi is playing the ball through, who is he playing that through ball to? There is no target player. There is no presence in the box. The crosses are going to come in, and who's going to win? Who's going to win the challenges? Well, there's nobody to challenge. And even the guys coming from behind are not natural offensive players. Banega's not a natural offensive player. I like that. He's a guy that likes to find that pass, but he's not a guy that is going to be a presence in the box. And so it just feels like, okay, we are addressing one problem in that we give Lionel Messi the freedom to receive the ball in advanced positions, but then we're creating another problem, that we have a lack of options in the attacking half, in particularly inside the 18-yard box.
I would personally go with another forward. I must admit, I would go with another forward.
Would you have a Kun?
Yeah, I'd definitely go with one of them. Because I don't think they need that forward across with Mascherano there making it a 5 and Leo up front. I'd certainly go more offensive than that picture showed.
If you look at all of the 8 matches, there's a big argument to say that this is the biggest one when you take a look at the quality, the history of these teams.
The global superstars.
Then what sort of match were we expecting? You know, is it going to be entertaining?
Possibly not. Possibly not.
What makes you say that?
Only because we always expect the Pogbas to come to the show, the Griezmanns to excel, the Mbappés to be brilliant, and of course, we're not even speaking about the Argentinian side. And sometimes they just cancel each other out. We know Kante will try and do a job on Messi. We know Otamendi will try and close out Mbappe, or whatever the case may be. So sometimes they are a bit of a damn squib, really, aren't they, when we expect so much of it. I mean, I hope I'm incredibly wrong. I hope I'm so far wrong and it's the most amazing game. Because I want to see these superstars show the world how good they are. I think Mbappe is a genius and is going to be, you know, the next big superstar. But I want to see it on the pitch at the highest level.
Let's bring in Gab Marcotti, shall we, from Moscow. Gab, what do you think? First off, same question I asked Maka. It should be entertaining, shouldn't it?
It should be, simply because, as you guys have pointed out ceaselessly, Argentina are kind of a mess right now, and they give you opportunities to go and do things. And I think with France, even though Deschamps is generally, I think, a more conservative manager, if you give players space, like Mbappe or Pogba from midfield, they can really hurt you. And we could theoretically have this incredible back and forth game. But I just want to add on the false nine front, this is completely grotesque that we're in this situation, that a country that produces the finest center forwards in the world, that has Agüero, that has Higuain, that could have had Mauro Icardi if he'd been called up, is going to go into this game without a center forward. And I'll tell you what's going to happen afterwards, and this is not my line, this is Sergio Levinsky's line. If Argentina win, it's because of Messi. If Argentina lose, it's because of Sampaoli. It's already been written.
Gab defending Sampaoli. Sampaoli is very much his boy, and he will defend him to the hilt. Just going on the game overall, what do you think it would be like?
First of all, I think there is a dramatic appeal to the game that we all, it's human nature to turn around and see the car crash.
Right.
To turn around and see the desperation. And this is what Argentina have been in this tournament. So the idea of a team that came into the tournament as one of the favorites, just having the struggles that they've had, and the drama surrounding Lionel Messi and this team provides a backdrop to the game. So much so that you almost forget about the team that they're playing against. And in France, they have a very, very talented squad. But it's a talented squad that plays in second gear half of the time. You don't really see the best of France. We're still waiting to see the best of France. Not only in this tournament, we go back to the Euros. Did we ever see the best of France? And are we ever going to see it?
Sure.
We're still waiting for the best of Paul Pogba.
Yeah.
With France and with Manchester United. And so, well, this is when Paul Pogba takes a leadership role. This is when he takes this game to a different level. We don't know that. Antoine Griezmann, we don't know. We expect them to be elite, but do they perform at that level? I don't think they do. So overall, there's a high expectation to what the game can be. I'm afraid that in the end, it won't be as exciting in terms of the quality of play, but it'd be exciting because of the drama surrounding the game.
It wouldn't surprise me in this scenario. We're talking about two teams who haven't necessarily played at their best. And then you look at the fact that this is the first knockout game. And you have to figure that in a knockout game, certainly in the past it's been that way, there's a feeling out period and there's a tentativeness to going forward. And with these teams not necessarily firing on all cylinders, you add in the fact that they don't want to give up an early goal. We might not see something pretty for a while. But I have a feeling that we're going to get at least a really good, exciting second half.
You would suggest with that team, if Argentina do play that team, that is very much safety first, isn't it? Yeah. Let's not give anything away. So automatically, they're going to be a lot deeper and a lot more defensive minded than as spectators we would want them to be. You know, if they played with two up front and Di Maria and Pavard, we'd be like, wow, they're going for it. You know, this is going to be expansive football. But looking at that and the way we know Messi will play and he'll drop and he'll want to pick up the ball, it'll be actually quite cagey,
you think
I think, initially.
Let's take a look at what the bookies say about this. France, slight favourite, 6-4, not massive difference. So Argentina coming in at 11-10. Who have you got, Ali?
My heart My soul is with South America. I'm going with Argentina, and I go back to the storyline, the drama surrounding this team.
Yeah.
And that somehow we're going to come into the studio and we're going to talk about this game, and we won't know how Argentina won it, but they won it in the end. And it may just be because of the little guy does something magical.
Gab, what do you think?
That Maradona.
No, he'll be doing something
In the
else.
stands.
The over-under on his cutaways. Right, anyway, Gab.
Look, we haven't seen the best of France, as people have mentioned. Where France have come alive, certainly Euro 2016, was against teams that have plenty of the ball and attack them, leaving space behind, like Germany. That's not going to happen with Argentina. So for that reason, and for my immense love of Sampaoli, I'm going to say Argentina.
Brian.
He was just pointing out why France is going to beat him.
Yeah, but the love for Sampaoli.
I'm taking your. No, I'm kidding. Listen, I think France is just too good. From front to back, you've got a team that has the capability to win this thing. So I think they go through.
In a word, Macca?
I'm going with Brian, France.
Meanwhile, you've got Uruguay then against Portugal. The game after that, you take a look at the odds. Bookies can't separate.
Toss of a coin,
It is indeed a coin toss when you look at it. Now, I'm kind of repeating myself here. Mm-hmm. Is this game going to be any good? Because there is a feeling that maybe it could be ultra defensive, ultra scrappy, and not exactly one for the eye.
You know, it's going to be difficult to figure out who wants the ball. Uruguay doesn't want the ball, and neither does Portugal. And so, yeah, at some point, somebody's going to have to get a hold of it. But Portugal is quite comfortable in defending, and Uruguay is even more comfortable defending, so much so that they say, you know what, we have Edinson Cavani, we have Luis Suarez. That's enough for us in the attacking half. The rest of us, our responsibility is we're going to hold tight, we're going to keep it at 0. That's what we take pride on. Maybe Betancourt runs and joins in the attack, and that's it. And that'll be enough on a set piece. Godin scores a goal, 1-0. See you guys later.
Uruguay then to go through?
South America, right?
Okay. Yeah. Right. Are you similar? This could be like just one goal.
I think this is going to be a physical game.
Yeah.
I think I could quite honestly see Pepe getting riled up by Suarez and one of the two not seeing the end of the game. But I still think Uruguay, the way they defend as a group, I think they're a little bit more cohesive than Portugal. Certainly, Portugal surprised me in this tournament. I thought last Euros was going to be sort of a bit of a fluke, but I think Uruguay goes through.
Yeah, I hope we're all wrong, but I totally agree. I think it's going to be a boring game, and Portugal may win on penalties or something like that. Right. The way I saw them in the Euros, and the way I've seen the likes of Pepe, and of course on the other side, Godin and Andes defend, I think it's going to be one of those games, stalemate.
We asked you over on Twitter which two teams you think will be advancing.
Oh, this matters.
Today's matches. Oh, it's a lot of flags there. How am I supposed to decipher all of that? What is that? Oh, no, here we go. 41% France and Portugal will be advancing according to Twitter. Meanwhile, of course, the final matches on the knockout stage will see Colombia take on England. The bookies have England slight favourites at 2-1 on. Colombia 6-4. Now, Mr. South America, Mr. CONMEBOL, Mr. I've got to support my South American neighbours. You've got England going through, Ali.
You know who Venezuela's big rival is, right?
No, I don't. If I'm honest.
It's Colombia. No, but look, the reason I pick England is Colombia with James Rodriguez is one team. Colombia without James Rodriguez is a different team entirely. Not only because of what he does with the ball and what other players are able to do because he's on the field, but the energy with which they play and the confidence with which they play is a whole lot better with James Rodriguez.
Right.
Juan Cuadrado becomes a different player when James is on the field. He knows he can run into a space and James is going to find them. We didn't see any of that from Cuadrado.
So what if James is fit?
James is not fit.
No?
No, James is not fit because it is clear to me that this is something that has been going on for a while now. And as we know, this niggling injuries don't just go away in a couple of days.
Yeah.
And so he may be out there, but it's one thing being out there and a whole other different thing being effective in the way he plays.
Who have you got going through in this one, Brian?
I've got England.
Wow. You imagine living in England now, Brian. Everyone getting excited, the euphoria.
Yeah, some of the videos of the pubs hanging out. Oh, man, I can't imagine that. Joy. Well, I'm sure Steve will be there when he gets back home.
Of course I will, if they're still involved.
What do you do? Team selection pretty much straightforward for Gareth Southgate, with the exception of Dele Alli or Loftus-Cheek. We saw Loftus-Cheek do well, didn't we?
Dele Alli will play.
As simple as that.
Yeah,
no brainer, not even a conversation.
He'll revert right back to the team that started the tournament. If Dele Alli's fit, of course, and he certainly looks fit when you see him in training sessions and stuff, but I would presume that he'd come right back in.
Gab, what do you think looking ahead to this game?
I think it's a coin toss, to be honest. I've gone with England because I do think James is a factor. But, you know, to be honest, I think Colombia, they have an issue up front in the sense that Falcao, without James, I'm not sure how much of a threat he's going to be. And I think also England on set pieces really have a considerable edge until now. But then they come up against this golem, Yerry Mina, all 8'10" of him. I don't know. I think it's tight, but I'm leaning England.
Thanks, Gab. Just a reminder, I think England are 4th favourites at the moment when you take a look at the odds. Brazil coming in at 10-2, Spain at 4-1. But, obviously, group stages, rest day, time to reflect. What's your one big takeaway from what we've seen so far on this World Cup, Ali?
It has to be VAR.
Yeah.
It has changed, and it will continue to change not only the way that the game is played, but the way the game is refereed, the way that people watch the game, the way that players react to calls. It's just... It has brought a different element to the game, and I think it's for the positive.
But is there just going to be one big error, do you think? You know what happened with VAR?
In the final.
That may just change the perception, but again, it just affects everything that happens on the field, and it affects how people watch and appreciate the game.
Yeah. Big takeaway from what we've seen?
For me,
I was going with Macca, and then I got all confused with Brian Bannerman.
For me, the biggest surprise was Russia themselves.
Yeah.
I didn't think they had any chance of getting out of their group. It came together. You could see what playing at home does in a World Cup.
Sure.
Personally, for me, after being in 2-10, 2-12, 14, 16, watching England, it's the way there's no negativity around England at the moment in time, which is very unusual, and there's a lot of positivity. And we just hope that, you know, they can carry on. I don't expect them to win, but carry on and do themselves proud.
Well, that's a little
they've got
negative.
a plan.
That was a little negative.
They've got a plan of how to play. They've got a plan of how to play rather than, you know, let's just see what happens. And that's what I like at this moment in time.
My big takeaway? Germany are rubbish now.
For once.
They are going home very early. Thank you very much to Ali, to Brian and to Macca, and of course to Gab Marcotti as well. We'll be back tomorrow to reflect on those two. Welcome into Extra Time. It's Friday.
Yeah.
Brian's here.
You seem
well
excited.
You're
excited. You seem excited.
I'm excited. Just happy to be here. It's all right.
What are you? What?
No, just
you going straight home?
Yeah, straight home.
And staying home?
And then he's coming out with me.
Hey, there it is.
How is it improving? Well, it's not, because he's been there for a number of years. I just think he's... firstly, he's been very important at times for Manchester United, the way they're playing. Of course, he wouldn't get into many teams, but he's a Mourinho favourite. He's come off the bench numerous times and performed really, really well and rescued them at times. And I think Jose's, you know, trying to reward him. So improving the squad, of course, he's not at this moment in time. Fred will improve the squad. Fellaini's been there for a while. So I'm happy for him. I spoke to him at the Champions League final, actually, and he was there, you know, even though there was thousands and thousands of Liverpool fans there. And I was asking him what he's doing in the future, and the impression I got there and then was that he was going to stay at United.
Do you like him, don't you?
I don't mind.
Because he's David Moyes' boy, and you love David Moyes. And therefore,
The transfers.
by
They're
association.
always transfers. No, I like him because he gives, it doesn't matter what team he's in, he gives them a different opportunity to break down another team. Defensively, he's solid enough that he's not going to hurt you, but if you're going up against a team that you don't have a lot of time and space, and they're pressing you high and you're struggling, you can put Fellaini in and he will give you a different option. And
I think it says something about Manchester United. Marouane Fellaini can be an important part to your team. So much so that he's a guy that can change the game coming off the bench. I think that says something about the limitations that sometimes we've seen from Manchester United.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah.
Completely agree. I think he's an important player for United, and I think the way Manchester United play is awful considering their history. But you know, that as Ali said he's an important member and he scored important goals at important times this year. Well, last season for them.
An important member of our team is of course, Gab Marcotti, who is with us from Moscow. Hello, Gab. How are you? Yes.
Very well, thank you.
Where does the head stop and the shirt begin? No one knows. Why isn't Sao Paulo starting Dybala, Gab? Does he need to check the doctor?
No, actually, this is one question that isn't mysterious about Argentina or about Sampaoli. Is he came out and he's basically said, well, Dybala plays in the exact same positions as Messi. Messi's come out and said Dybala plays in the same positions as me, so he can be my reserve. So should Messi not play, then obviously Dybala might play. The one wrinkle in this is, of course, against France, some outlets in Argentina reporting that Messi could play at center forward in sort of some false nine position, and of course that might open room up, in theory, for Paulo Dybala.
Your gold game?
Goal game.
Gotta be golf.
It's got to be golf.
How is my golf
Obviously,
game?
Burley, Nickel, Ali plays as well.
Non-existent.
No?
I can play. I just don't play. I just would rather not spend 5 hours walking around a golf course. No, I'd rather be doing something important.
So what do you do with those 5 hours?
Yeah, what do you do with those 5
I
hours?
sit and watch the horse race instead.
You can do both, probably.
How's
Bring
your
your
golf this
iPad
summer
out.
been, Brian?
What's that?
How's your golf been this summer?
It's been better.
Yeah?
Yes. Yeah, putter started working.
Lovely. Ali's got good as well.
Did you know Tiger was thinking about changing his?
did.
It's a huge story. It's a huge
Good
story.
day for him, too.
It's a huge story.
Oh, and he played well, didn't he?
Yeah, because he changed his putter. He was thinking about it and he eventually changed it.
And play golf. You really
I know my
have
stuff. That's why I'm not playing golf. I'm reading about other sports. You see, that's the thing.
Why does it seem no one is giving Croatia a chance to actually win the tournament? You got them going through to the final?
Yes, I've got them in the final. There's a chance, great chance.
Jay Ajayi does as well, of course.
Okay, I'm sure he does.
Yeah, my friend.
You know he's Gab's friend, eh?
Oh, of course, Gab's an Eagles fan.
Eagles fan. And by the way, Jay Ajayi was important for that team. He changed that team in the running game.
Well, they had to after that quarterback got done, didn't it?
What's that quarterback's name? Carson Wentz. You're looking for Carson Wentz.
Do you remember when he did his knee, didn't he? His ACL. Gab was crying.
Yes, he was. He did not believe in Nick Foles.
No belief at all. Did you, Gab?
I did not believe in Nick Foles because it wasn't the right thing to do at the time. When the facts change, opinions change.
Facts.
And Gab had Croatia going to the semi-finals as well, I think.
Did he?
I think he had Spain beating them, but he had them going through to the
I think everyone's
semi-finals.
got them in the
Yeah,
semi-finals.
so that's good. So everybody's giving them a chance, actually, aren't they?
Yeah, but not to win the tournament.
I know, but to get to the semi-finals, you never know what's going to happen then.
Only a handful of Americans in the MLS All-Star roster. Cause for concern for the US men's national team. 7 out of 27. Brian, were you an All-Star?
At times, yes.
Yeah, that's
It was a
right.
little bit different.
Ali, were you an All-Star?
No, I was more of an outsider looking in sort of guy.
Weren't you like the backup guy?
Yes.
Like if one of the real ones got injured.
Correct. That was me.
That's nice.
That was me. But it was different times back then.
Yeah.
Can
By
I-
the way, back in those days, the U.S. men's national team guys
Yes.
were heavily favored as all-star picks.
Oh.
I'm just saying.
Can I ask a question? Does this game really count?
No.
As anything?
It's a showpiece.
Yeah, I know, yeah, but this like all-star, it's as if like you've been rewarded with something. It's not.
Yeah, so the fans vote.
Yes.
And then, so the fans vote them in, and then you get coaches.
Starting
votes as
11.
well.
So
Okay.
the starting 11's fan vote, and that's why you see
Okay.
like 5 or 6 Atlanta players on there.
Sure.
Rightfully so. You know,
Yeah, they've been good.
and they have great support.
Okay.
So they're rewarded.
Problem
And then you have
for-
a commissioner pick and
Like
this year you
answering
have
the
2.
question, does it matter for the US team?
No, I think, listen, what matters for the U.S. team is the system coming through. So MLS teams play a big part of the system, and making sure that the youth is nurtured in a way that you're providing challenges. That part matters. The All-Star game? No, it's a reward for a lot of players. Some are just basically real popular, but great players in their own right. That's why the All-Star game, to me, is a little bit diluted now, because you don't have East playing West.
Right.
I prefer that.
Yeah. Yeah, you keep saying that as well.
Yeah, not to get too technical with this, but when you have this GAM and TAM situation going on in MLS, and it opens the door for all these young South American players to come in or international players to come in, it also creates competition for this sort of event, where now the best players in most MLS teams are not American. They're actually foreign players. And those are usually the players that get voted into the All-Star game.
Word on Rooney, Brian, your boy?
Yeah, I'm very happy for him. I think people don't understand what Wayne Rooney is and the type of person he is. He's not coming here to retire. The guy has more drive than most people have ever seen. And that alone, along with his talent, will certainly help DC United improve. They put some other pieces around him, and I think Wayne Rooney's going to have a great impact in this league.
Good stuff. All right, then. That is it for Extra Time. We'll be back tomorrow. We have to wait till Monday for Brazil against Mexico. The bookies have got Brazil at big favourites, 9-2 on. Mexico, meanwhile, at 3-1. For more looking ahead to this game, let's go over to Sebi and Herc.
Greetings from Moscow, where Mexico trained this morning. Before the practice session, Herc, we had a chance to listen in to a couple players speaking in press conference. Alfredo Talavera, the backup goalkeeper, and Andres Guardado, the captain. One of the topics that came up, and it's where I want to go first, is kind of a 30,000-foot theme. This could be, in many ways, an all-or-nothing match for Mexico's golden generation. They're effectively aging out. Any round of 16 game for Mexico is the biggest game in Mexican soccer history, but I might suggest that this truly, really is the biggest game the Mexican national team, given all the weight put on this generation, has ever played.
This is the golden generation, the Guardados, the Chicharitos, all these players,
Gio, Vela, everybody,
Vela, all these players that have played abroad, that have had somewhat sterling careers. It's all on this game because this is a do-or-die game. It's a must-win game. This is basically the last World Cup they're going to have in their prime. Chicharito's 30 years old. These players aren't going to be around performing at this level come 2022. So this is it. And it's this Brazil. It's the same squad, same generation that they beat in the U17 World Cup final. Same generation that they beat in the 2012 Olympic gold medal game. It's all lining up, and it very much is the most important games of their Mexican national team career.
One player that we haven't seen much of, but who before the World Cup you said was a tournament player, is Giovanni Dos Santos. I wonder if you agree with me on this. This seems like the perfect game for Gio. One, because Brazil will probably let him have the type of space, and also because the motivation that he would carry, his father being Brazilian-born.
You're completely right. You have that motivation of being a dual national with Brazil, that motivation of you know what it's like to play versus Brazil. Brazil will let you have the ball. Don't know if he'll start. There will be a lot of bodies that last game suffered cramps, suffered injury that may not be around this game. I think he's best suited off the bench when the spaces are open in those dying 20, 25 minutes. I think we're going to see Giovanni, and Giovanni always tends to surprise in the biggest moments. We saw it last World Cup versus Holland. This is that type of player.
In these press conferences, there's not really all that much that comes out that's usually very interesting. I will say this, Andres Guardado's comments concerning Neymar, the simulation, he said he likes to dive around a lot, he exaggerates fouls. To me, that's in some way bulletin board material for Brazil potentially, but also a very clear message to FIFA, to the guys running the VAR, and to Monday's referee.
Well, he mentioned VAR, which is in a sense ridiculous because VAR can't check if you're diving. They're not going to call something back for diving. But what he does by this is he's conditioning the referee in the next game. Hey, watch out for this guy. He likes to roll around. All of a sudden, if that's in the referee's back of his head, it could play into the favor of the Mexican players. They could maybe be a little bit more physical with them. We know that if you're physical with Neymar, you can tune him out of a match, especially in this World Cup. We've seen it. Costa Rica did it for a while. Switzerland has also done it. I think the Mexican national team, they know that he's a big part of Brazil. He's one of the best players in the world. If you can isolate him and take him out of the game, your chances of winning this game are better.
Speaking of interesting comments, Juan Carlos Osorio's comments after the Sweden match, one of the things that jumped out to me from his press conference was the fact that he said, look, I hold my hand up, I got this wrong, and I learned some lessons. So what were the lessons then that he learned against Sweden, and how do those apply, if at all, to Brazil?
51 games, and in game number 51, he decides to finally repeat a lineup. And he also decides not to play to the opponents. He played into their hands. I think now with Juan Carlos Osorio, he understands that you have to play to Brazil. You have to, in some way, try to neutralize their best player in Neymar, neutralize Coutinho, neutralize that offensive transition game they have where they're very direct at times with Paulinho. He understands this. We're going to see a much more organized Mexican national team, a team that's going to be much more prepared because they have to be. What they showed versus Sweden was not really characteristic of what we've seen under Juan Carlos Osorio. This is the biggest game in Juan Carlos Osorio's tenure. Every do-or-die moment he's had, whether it's Chile, the 7-0, the 4-1 versus Germany, the 2-1 versus Jamaica, this is it now. He can reverse all that and make it to that final quinto partido, that coveted quinto partido, with a good game.
Mexico versus Brazil draws closer and closer Monday in Samara. For Hercules Gomez, I'm Sebastian Salazar. We send it back to you.